Hello from Laid Back Farm. Today we're going to be making biscuits. First thing you need to do, of course, is to wash your hands very good and your fingernails to have clean hands. Next, turn the oven on 500. If you don't turn the oven on first, you cannot put biscuits in a cold oven. They won't rise properly, the texture will not be good, and it's not a good thing. You have to have the oven turned on before you cook. I've got 2½ cups of white lily flour in my bowl. I only use white lily to make biscuits. On occasion, when the other flour goes on sale, years ago I've been known to buy it, and it does not work at all. White lily is the only flour that I'll make biscuits with. I use Crisco exclusively because it works best. And again, many years ago, when we killed our own hogs, when we grew and slaughtered our own hogs, we'd cut up the fat meat into small pieces and cook it in the wash pot and make our own lard. Put it in a can that held, I don't know, 15 gallons maybe, 10 gallons. And we'd have our own lard to use from a lard can, so I'd make biscuits and cornbread with that. Now I use Crisco. I use buttermilk to make biscuits. If I don't have buttermilk, then I don't make biscuits because they're just not good unless you use buttermilk. I'm ready to start the biscuits. I have my 2½ cups flour, and since I never measure anything, I don't know how much of anything I use, so I will try to help you know what to use when you make biscuits at home. This is a 1 cup measure, and that would be 1 cup, so let me see what that might look like. I'm going to use probably, the 1 cup is probably enough with my 2½ cups of flour. Put a little back. That's how my, a smidgen of this and a dab of that. Okay, the buttermilk, I don't have any idea. I will pour 1 cup to start with and see what happens here. And start mixing with my hands. And it's, I believe the 1 cup may be enough. And the texture and consistency of this is something you just have to learn what's best when there's still dry flour. This would end up being about 1½ cups of buttermilk probably. When there's still dry flour, you need to pour more buttermilk in until all the flour gets wet. This is probably enough biscuit mixture to make enough biscuits to fill this pan here that I'm using. And if you look at a recipe for biscuits or anything else, it always says to grease the pan. Well, my pan doesn't need greasing because I've used it for so many years that it has a finish on it that nothing sticks to it. So I don't have to worry about that. And when I take the biscuits out, I get a dish rag and wipe it down, and it's ready to use for the next time. I'm sprinkling flour on my Tupperware pie sheet here, and when I turn this mixture out onto it, I'm going to knead it several times to get it into shape to cut the biscuits out. And they are a good consistency. This is what you need here. I've often made it too soupy, and it's real hard to get your biscuits to knead and to cut out when you do that. So I am ready to put it out onto the pie sheet. This, get your hands ready to do the next job. and I'm going to put I pour my flour up from the sack into a Tupperware bowl. It makes it easier for me to work with it, to get it out and to do what I'm doing now, to reach in with my hand. And I'm getting just enough flour to where I can turn it over and over and it won't stick to the sheet and it won't stick to my hands. If it does, you put your fingers into the flour and keep going. This is just to get it ready to do this, and then I'm going to pat it out. I have a cutter that makes a fairly good-sized biscuit, but I also have a cutter that my Granny Adams, my mother's mother, made for me. She had one. This is not hers. She made this one for me. It's a Vienna sausage can. They don't come in this metal anymore. They come in some type of aluminum or something. This may be steel. And she cut the lid of it, the top of it out. And then you have to cut an opening in the bottom so that when you go down to make your biscuit, it can get air and make it turn loose well. So especially when I have dough left over or when I'm taking biscuits somewhere else, I usually make the smaller biscuits, but here at home, I make the bigger ones. And you have to dip your cutter each time into the flour. That keeps it from sticking to the dough and making a pretty biscuit that doesn't have any ragged edges. And you just pick them up. If your fingers stick, you put your fingers in the flour again. I think this is going to make about the right amount. And since I can get to it right here after I get the other biscuits out of the way, and then the crumbles that are left that are not not enough to spread out again and cut, I just make several hand-shaped biscuits, and they're usually a little larger, and sometimes Granddaddy likes them because they are larger. Have to pat it out some so it'll cook at the same time the others cook. But this made, the 2½ cups of flour made this pan full nicely. I will put them in the oven, and after I do, I will cut up some pieces of cheese to go in them as soon as they come out of the oven to make cheese biscuits. These have been in there about 10 minutes. They are ready to come out now. Perfectly browned and cooked. I'm going to put cheese in some of them for it to melt as soon as it comes out of the oven, and it makes a delicious cheese biscuit. Hot, 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 hot. Okay. The cheese stays in a melted state so that you can eat the biscuits left over for breakfast or the next meal, and it's good for that. I have some butter that I'll be buttering a couple of biscuits to go with the honey that came from our neighbor's honeybee hives. We did have our own honeybees, but there is a mite that gets in the hives and destroys them, has destroyed many in Georgia as well as ours. So our neighbor has the honey. He's just about a mile from us here, and so we got the honey from him. And a couple of butter biscuits to go with homegrown honey will be good. And I fried some chicken in my iron Dutch oven, and with the I poured the extra oil off that I fried the chicken in, and then left the rest of it in the Dutch oven and made gravy. So we have the gravy and biscuits, gravy and chicken to go with the biscuits, as well as this. Oh, the tomatoes. I was going to tell about the tomatoes. There's nothing better than what we call a tomato biscuit. You take a slice and open up the biscuit. I will make a few slices first before we do that. And you don't cut the biscuit because it's not the right texture somehow when you cut it. It's better if you just lift it off. You take the biscuit and lift it off and put your tomato slice in. Lots of pepper, salt if you like. Not everybody uses salt. Put some mayonnaise on this side of on whichever side of the biscuit you need it. And like that, and then it's ready to eat, and it is delicious. We're still gathering tomatoes. This is October 1st, and we are still gathering tomatoes from our garden, and we grow the Parks Whoppers. We buy the seed from Parks Seed Company, and the Parks Whoppers is their variety. You can only get it from them, I believe. And I grow the plants in the basement on a hot box that Granddaddy built me, and they're ready to put out at the right time for tomatoes. And we grow our own tomatoes from seed and have them, and they're still making in October, so that's pretty good for them to make that long. The mayonnaise on the biscuit that I mentioned, it's not just a little bit of mayonnaise. You put a lot of mayonnaise. And you can tell that this is probably a lot of mayonnaise for one biscuit. So you put it on there in this manner and then put the cap on it. You need some pepper. Let me get the pepper. I must have pepper. I'm going to show you how good it is. This is the tomato biscuit, and it has enough mayonnaise that when you bite into it, it swooshes out on each side of your mouth, and you know you've got it just right. This is it. Mmm, delicious. Cannot beat a tomato biscuit. One more bite, please. Very good. Granddaddy, come in here and get you something to eat. Granddaddy, come in here and get you something to eat. He's been eating my biscuits for 54 years now, and he's still walking upright and looks fairly healthy.
Stunning my growth.
Stunning your growth. So he'll be, I told you he would go for the big biscuits that's left over after cutting out. That's what he likes. He's got a cheese biscuit.
Where's the butter?
The buttered one is here. Yes, there's a buttered biscuit.
It's all I can do to gag down about.
And there's gravy. There's gravy over here now. Don't forget gravy and chicken. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Need a spoon.
Oh, a spoon. We can do that. Okay.
I got one. This is Sawmill Gravy.
It is. Now, why is it called Sawmill Gravy?
Got a clue?
Well, I think back when people actually worked in the sawmill, it was a cheap food to eat.
Well, stick to their gut, I guess.
Well, and it sticks to your ribs, yes, yes. So the chicken, you want your chicken heated up?
No, I don't think I want the chicken. I'm just going to eat this and some honey.
Definitely.
My hair's pretty in it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Could I hear a that's good? Oh, okay. I think that's an agreement there.